Does your startup have a CTO or a lead developer? You've hired more developers, but you're not getting more done. Your development leader complains about those developers. I might know what your problem is. To survive and thrive, you must adopt a product-driven mindset. In this episode of Product Driven, we're going to talk about some common problems with new engineering managers. They struggle with managing people and doing work themselves and how to balance the two. We're also going to talk about how there are actually 3 different types of engineering leaders, and you need to understand which of those your engineering manager is. If you don't know me, my name is Matt Watson. I've been a CTO and startup founder for over 20 years, started and sold 3 SaaS companies. I've kind of seen a little bit of all of these things, and I am your guide on how to grow and scale your engineering team. Last week, one of my customers called complaining how his engineering manager doesn't like working with 2 other developers. He says when he talks to them, he's like, I just don't have time to manage them. I don't like the work that they're doing. I feel like I have to redo their work. These are some of the big red flags. This means that this person is not really a manager. They're an individual contributor. They like doing all the work. They don't like managing other people. That's what we're going to dig more into today so you can understand why this is a problem and also how to fix it, okay? There are actually 3 types of engineering managers. Think about a CTO, who is more of a strategic leadership, who bridges the gap between technical and business. You have people that are really good at operations, so they like people and processes. They like managing teams. They like doing one-on-ones. They like all that part of the work. And then you have actually the technical part of it. Who makes the hard decisions, solves the big problems, drives architecture. These are actually 3 different roles. In a very large company, there are absolutely 3 different people. So if you have a CTO, head of engineering, whatever the job title is today, you have to understand of those 3 components, what are they good at and what are they not so good at? Odds are they might be really good at the technical part. They might be really strong leading and figuring out the hard problems, but maybe they're not even very strategic. And it sounds like, based on the video and what we're talking about today, if this relates to you, they're not very good at operations. They're not very good at managing other people. I really understand this problem because I used to be that person. Much like most engineering managers, we all go through this growth from being an individual contributor to being a manager, which is a totally different job. It was very frustrating to me because I was super strong technically and I'm really good at product. So I know what needs to be done and I can go do it and I can get things done very quickly. So to stop and explain to somebody else what we're doing just does not feel productive to me. It's like super annoying to me actually. But eventually you have to get over it. You have to learn that your job is to make everybody else more productive. Maybe I can do things twice as fast, but if I have 3 other people and I can help them all be more productive and help them do things twice as fast, that's more like 6 times faster than instead of 2 times faster, right? And so you have to make this mind shift between being an individual contributor and focusing more on helping everybody else be more productive. That's what I had to remind myself every day. My job isn't to do all the work. My job is to make everybody else more productive. And ultimately, that enables you to scale, to do more than one problem at a time. Instead of the one thing I can do, now we're doing 4 things. And I can provide a little bit of help every day to other people. And now we're making progress on multiple things instead of just the one thing. And the biggest problem here, as an engineering leader, if you're the one trying to jump in and do all the work, you ultimately become the bottleneck. And that does not work. And that is the frustration I hear from our customers and all the time is I've got an engineering manager. They're great, but they just complain about these other developers and then we're not getting stuff done and they're not delegating and there's like all these sort of problems. It just doesn't scale. You cannot scale an engineering team if the leaders of your engineering team don't know how to delegate, drive requirements, break down the work, disperse it to other people, and scale. The company will never scale. I see this problem all the time. Ultimately, you have to learn as an engineering manager to give ownership to other people, to build their skills, and give them confidence so you can grow and scale together as a team. If your company has this problem, I have 3 tips for how to solve it. So if you're an engineering manager or your engineering manager has this problem, You have to learn to balance when is your time to make or do things? When is your time to be heads down in the code versus when is it time to be a manager and manage other people? And ultimately, what you don't want to do is keep context switching between this all day long because it's very frustrating. And I've been this person, like I said before, and I would be the guy who shows up to meetings. I would be heads down on my laptop, trying to do something, trying to save the day, trying to be the hero, instead of focusing on everybody else in the room and how I can help them. And when you walk into those meetings, you have to stop. You have to stop trying to be an individual contributor and you have to be engaged in the conversation. You have to be present in the moment to help manage everybody else and make them more productive. You have to learn to make this shift. And so one of the ways to do that is just by scheduling your time. It's like, hey, for the first 2 hours of the day, I get up every day, I meet with the team, I make sure they're being productive, I help them, I ask all the right questions, I help drive the team. And then the rest of the day, I can be heads down and I can go solve problems, work on architecture, help on requirements, help prepare for what the team is going to need to know tomorrow. I can do all that other work that's more heads down work. You've got to split your time and think about it that way so you're not trying to context switch back and forth because that is very painful, okay? My second tip is you got to focus on other people's success. You can't always be focused on, well, what did I accomplish today? It has to be more about, what did I help everybody else accomplish today? What did other team members accomplish on the team? If you start thinking about what everybody else accomplishes, it'll take the pressure off of you and take the focus off of you. You need to be focused on, how did I help this guy or gal on the team achieve whatever their project is? And celebrate what they are successful at. And, ultimately, if you have the wrong person on your team and they're not a good team member, that's another problem. But if you've got a really good team member, they should be able to be successful, achieve their projects, get stuff done. Focus on helping them be successful, and ultimately you and the team will be more successful. So my third tip is to look for the teaching moments. As an engineering leader, we're very smart. We understand the architecture. We understand the product. Let's say we understand where the bodies are buried. We know everything about the system. Well, when problems come up, it's easy for us to jump in and go solve those problems. But what we're doing is we're losing those teaching moments. We're jumping in and being the hero. You've got to make sure you take those moments and let other people learn in those moments. I have 5 kids, and this is something that I've had to learn from being a father. It's like when my kids need something, they need to get something out of the refrigerator, they need to learn to tie their shoes, like all these kinds of things. I could just do all of them for them. Or am I robbing them of an opportunity for them to learn something? I think me being a father has really taught me that. It's like, you know what? I can't rob their opportunity to learn from them. I need to support their need to learn and do these skill sets on their own, and I have to guide and teach them. I need to take time to capture these teaching moments. So in this video, we talked a lot about there's different kinds of engineering managers, and the big thing is you've really got to focus on going from being an individual contributor to a manager and making the mindset shift. And one of the best tips to do that, again, is to break up your day. Start your day focused potentially on how do I help everybody else, and then spend the rest of the day being the individual contributor. But it's really difficult to go back and forth. And this is a really, really common problem for engineering managers. And ultimately, they just have to learn their goal is to help everybody else be more productive. If they shift their mindset, ultimately, you'll be a lot better off in the long run. When your team is ready to scale and you're ready to hire more developers, Full Scale can help you out. Keep us in mind. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Product Driven.